Hi, I'm Elysia Stobbe, and I'm here at the Department of Veterans Affairs today, interviewing two of their top brass with some great questions for VA home buyers. If you could introduce yourselves, please.
Hi, I'm Mike Frueh. I'm the director of the VA Home Loan Program here in D.C.
And I'm Mark Connors. I'm the lender liaison in D.C.
Great. So we put together a few questions that we thought would be helpful for either first-time users of their VA home loan benefits or anybody who's actually used it before and maybe had questions and had any kind of challenges. The idea is to make it smoother for the veteran as they purchase a home. So the first question I had was for Mark. What is something that lenders forget to tell people that are looking for VA loans or interested in using their VA loan benefits?
Well, actually, I don't know that I would say what they forget to tell the veterans, but rather what they forget to ask the veteran. And just a simple, have you served? Or are you a veteran? Or do you know if you qualify for the VA home loan program? That is something that we would encourage everybody in the industry to ask the veterans. Have you served? Do you know if you may be eligible for the home loan benefit? Because it doesn't do the veteran any good to find out after they purchase a home that they qualify for the home loan benefit.
So you think there's probably a portion out there that just by the loan origination process and when they're doing the application that the lenders aren't asking those questions?
Absolutely, yes. I think, and that's again, we encourage whether it's lenders or realtors. That's the question that we would like to get across more than anything.
I agree, and there's even veterans out there that have used the benefit in the past, that have bought a home before, that don't know that they can use it again. So it's not just a single-use program, and there's probably a lot of realtors out there and lenders that don't know that it's available multiple times throughout a veteran's life. And that's something that we've been trying to overcome with education and letting people know this is a comprehensive benefit that can help veterans at any stage in their life. It's not a first-time home buying program. It's any time you want to buy a home buying program.
And is that part of the reason that the Military Relocation Professional Certification was developed with the National Association of Realtors?
Oh, I would have to say yes. That's certainly part of it. That the more that we can educate the industry professionals about the program, the more veterans we're able to serve. That's extremely important.
That's great. So, Mike, what's the most important thing a veteran should know about a VA loan?
One is that it was created for you, for the veteran. It's 70 years old this summer. In fact, last night we guaranteed our 21st millionth loan since the program started. Thank you. I look every single morning. We were very close. So we're at 21 million loans. It was created for service members coming back from World War II, and since that time it's grown. It's a program, like I said before, for your entire life to use to purchase a home. Some people consider it as, I'm getting out of the military and I'm starting my first job, and maybe I have a little family, maybe I don't, and I used to buy a first home because I don't have enough of a down payment saved to buy the first home. You can use it when you sell that first home and buy the second home and buy the third home, and when you want to buy your retirement home. It's good for all of those. And some of the best things about it have been around for 70 years. It's always been no down payment. No down payment's fantastic. So our average loan amount last year was around $200,000, just over. And if you were to get a conventional loan, you would need about $40,000 down payment. Or you could put a little more less down and pay mortgage insurance. With a VA loan, there's no mortgage insurance, there's no down payment. That's money that you get to keep in the bank, so when you buy your new house, you can put drapes on the windows, you can put trash cans in every room, you can put beds in the rooms that you never owned before. All of that's important for you when you get into the home process.
Great. It's funny that you say the trash can. I always say that. Once you get in your house, you're going to spend money at the big stores that you never even knew you were going to have to buy trash cans.
Yeah, that is absolutely true.
Light bulbs, all the fun stuff that make it home.
That's right.
Make your house to the home. Do either of you have any inspirational stories about the VA and what it's done to help veterans?
I have one that I always think about, and the home loan benefit it's actually three benefits. One, it helps veterans purchase a home, and purchase a home that's geared for their success so that they're not stretching too much to buy a home they can't afford. They're not putting too much money down in a down payment, so they have money in reserves. 2, we have a group of people that help veterans keep their homes if they have problems. And 3, we help severely wounded veterans adapt a home so they can actually live independently in the home where they want to live, so they're not forced to live in the home hospital care or nursing care. But the second benefit, retaining a home, we have 150 people around the country that are there to help veterans when things happen. And one veteran in particular in Arizona he got cancer, and he couldn't go to work, so he couldn't make his mortgage payment. He had a family, and he talked to us, and we said, we know what's going on. We'll talk to your mortgage bank. Don't worry about your home. Worry about getting well. And so we talked to the bank. Bank said, don't worry, while he's going through treatment, we'll defer his payments, and we'll work with him later to try to get caught up. He wrote a letter that I still have today that said, of all the stuff he was worried about, his cancer was the least of his worries. His biggest worry was that his wife and his children wouldn't have a home to live in because he was going through this treatment. He said the amount of worry we took out of his life probably helped him overcome the cancer, but he was a success story. He actually got better, got back to work, reinstated his loan, and lived in his home. But he said that little bit of worry that we took out of the big bit of worry that we took out of his life totally transformed his attitude at the time.
That's a great story.
It made me feel good.
And Mr. Frueh talked about the 3 parts, and the way that he likes to say it is easy to remember. So our mission is to help veterans attain, retain, and adapt. And perhaps another inspirational story that you could talk about is the 20th million.
Oh yeah, this I said we just hit our 21st millionth loan yesterday, but last year ago October we had or 2 years ago, it's October now, we had our 20th million loan, and the 20 millionth loan didn't go to a veteran or service member, it went to a surviving spouse. And the surviving spouse is a woman named Beth Carpenter who lives in Springfield, Virginia with her little boy, and her husband passed away while he was in service. So she's going through all the grief that people go through for losing a spouse, and her son had just lost his father. And someone had told her that here's a benefit that you have as a surviving spouse. You can still use your husband's VA home loan benefit to buy a home without a down payment. And by telling her that, it was her realtor, I think, that let her know, she actually looked for a home and found a home that she couldn't have bought otherwise, that she was able to buy without a down payment, and went down there with our undersecretary downstairs, and me and several other people went out to her house to celebrate when she had moved in, to say, we're very happy we're able to help her and her family get a house, but she was the 20th million. So there's 20 million others before her, including surviving spouses. And again, she wouldn't have known about it if someone didn't bring it up and say, oh, your husband served, maybe you qualify for this benefit. It's even more reason to get the word out to ask that question.
Yeah, it's just like you were saying earlier, so not only have you served, but have you or your spouse served.
Right.
And so he's talked about that's 2 parts. The first one, the one he just mentioned, was attaining the home. He talked about an inspirational story from retaining the home. Our specially adapted housing, that's where we help out the most severely disabled veterans. And that program is actually worldwide. And we send out folks from Loan Guarantee Service to the Philippines, Vietnam, Germany, again, worldwide. And we're helping these severely disabled veterans by widening the hallways, widening the shower areas, and I can't think of a group that's more deserving of the benefit. They paid a very, very heavy price. So again, attain, retain, and adapt.
That's great. Do you have any stories about that you could share? Are there any in particular with the adapting?
Oh, there are several of them, and I think they're all inspirational. I don't have one that sticks out as being any more inspirational than all of the others.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Mark. How about your favorite part about serving the veterans?
For me, I would have to go to the educational aspect of it. Let's face it, purchasing a home, even for exceptionally educated people, if you're not if this is not something that you're dealing with on a daily basis, it's going to be a very, very stressful time for you. There are a whole lot of unknowns. And so we like to stress the educational part of that. And one of the things that we like to talk about is it can be summed up as know before you owe. There's a whole world of difference between the financial obligations that you're going to have when you're renting a home versus the financial obligations that you're going to have when you purchase a home. And for example, if your water heater were to stop working, if you're renting, you make a phone call, and I know this from my days in the military, living in base housing. Make a phone call and somebody comes over and replaces it. Well, I think that it's important for veterans to know the true cost of home ownership prior to going down the road of purchasing a home. And while VA doesn't require that veterans have any certain amount of money in reserves from a financial planning perspective, I think it's very important for veterans to establish an emergency reserve prior to purchasing a home. So if that water heater needs replacing, you're not going to have to put that on a credit card, because we want to get veterans into homes, but we also want them to retain those homes. So I'd have to say the educational portion and translating the industry lingo into terms that the veterans are able to understand and are comfortable with.
That makes sense.
I agree. What's a GFE, or what does APR mean to someone that has never bought a home before? Or you buy a home every 7 years. You don't do this often, and you really need to rely on real estate professionals and VA. VA has a lot of people that are here to answer questions and to help. And the thing I like most about serving veterans is making the process better. And Mark loves it. I always talk about, we're not my father's VA, and we're definitely not my grandfather's VA. It's when I got here 12 and a half years ago, VA's undergoing lots of changes, and we're trying to interact with veterans in easier ways for them. And in a lot of ways, this program relies on lenders to lend money to veterans, relies on realtors and servicers and a lot of people in the community that VA doesn't own. It's not VA delivering the benefit by hand to a veteran. So I'm very proud of the work we've done in the last couple of years to make the process easier for lenders and for realtors and to veterans to use. If we make it easier for lenders to use, then more veterans will have access to it.
Yeah, and so along those lines, there are we find there are a lot of myths out in the industry. For example, you don't want to go with a VA loan. It takes too long to close the VA loans. Well, the data is the opposite of that. The recent data shows that VA loans close quicker than the other products that are out there. And one of the challenges that we have is dispelling those myths in the industry. For example, if you have a realtor shop, if you have somebody new that comes into the business, they're going to want to find mentors. Well, if somebody tells this individual, you want to stay away from VA loans because I did one 5 years ago and here are all the problems, well, that is going to perpetuate itself, and that thinking is going to be infectious, and it's simply not reality, and so that's one of our challenges.
So again, that military relocation professional certification is useful on many fronts by educating the current realtors and real estate agents in the profession, and then the ones that they mentor as well.
Absolutely, yes. The MRP is a great educational certification for realtors and lenders to obtain. It helps them understand the military professional better, and I think that it's important in making a connection. Just from a sales perspective, you only have a very short time in order to gain that potential client's trust. And I think that if realtors or lenders are able to demonstrate to veterans that, look, I was interested enough to take this additional step and get this certification, I think that's going to be meaningful to veterans.
I think it's a great class. It's a great educational process. How about we talk a little bit, I was going to ask, what would you like first-time home buyers to know about their loan options? And I can tell you from my perspective, if I do run across a veteran, sometimes I get their concern that, oh, I'm going to wait to use my VA. So I'm not sure if it's they're not sure about the multiple use, but what do you hear on your end about that?
I hear exactly that people think it's a single-use program that they want to wait until they find their dream home. So some people might say, I'm going to use it to buy my starter home, and then it's gone, and I can't use it again. Or I'm going to hold on to it and use it later. And I even hear that among my staff, veterans that work here, that don't know that they can use it more than once. And that's frustrating. That's education on our part to get more knowledge of the benefit out. But the benefit's wonderful because it comes with limited closing costs. VA actually dictates what lenders can charge to veterans. And we try to control it to keep it reasonable because we know it costs money to make a loan, but we don't want veterans to be gouged in a transaction that they don't understand a whole lot about. We work with other regulators in D.C. as they come up with guidance on what allowable charges are to say, hey, we have what we consider a protected class of borrowers that have earned a benefit. We want to treat it as a benefit. So we work with them to make sure that what goes out is reasonable, but we control what happens on our program. It comes without a down payment, which is probably the biggest thing for veteran borrowers, that you don't have to write a big check when you come to buy a house. And number 3, the program has been so successful the last couple of years. We've changed so much in working with lenders and in creating loans that work, that veteran borrowers don't default as much as other borrowers. And if they do run into issues, if they lose their job or they have illnesses or unanticipated expenses, they recover faster and better than anyone else to make this loan. Lenders recognize that. And last year, the VA loan across the country, of the 2.1 million loans we have, we guaranteed about 440,000 last year. The interest rate on the loans we guaranteed last year was lower than any other loan program around the country. So
the rates are great.
So the rates are great because it's a great loan.
And the other interesting thing, you were talking about the fees allowed that the lenders are allowed to charge. But doesn't VA also limit what the sellers can charge the buyer?
Absolutely.
In some cases.
And that's a
saves them money too.
Yes, and we're one of the reasons that the program is so successful. And if you were to put a VA loan against any other product out there, from a cost perspective, hands down, the VA is going to win for veterans every single time. I had my first VA loan in 1986. And so I'm one of those guys that he was talking about, because until I started working for VA, I did not realize that I could use the benefit again. And so he mentioned that it's frustrating for us to get that message out there, but we do need to get that message out there. But yes, the fees and charges, we have a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that the veterans are not being overcharged, and that's one of our main reasons for auditing the lender files, to ensure that the lenders are in compliance with our statutes, regulations, policies.
That's great. It's definitely, in my humble opinion, the best loan out there, so anybody that can qualify. I mean, you can't beat 0 down payment. The interest rates are fantastic. 100% financing. And then also, as it relates to the loan limits, I think some people maybe aren't aware that actually changes by region and where the property is located. Have you seen, I know there were some big changes in VA loan limits in the past. Has it been 18 months? Not quite.
It changed several times in the last year, and the loan limits are out of our control. That's set by Congress, and there's 3 or 4 laws that fit within each other that control loan limits. But it's important to know on the VA loan, we don't set a maximum amount you can borrow. we set a maximum amount that we guarantee. So, for example, if you find the perfect house for you in an area where the loan limit is $417,000, but the house you want is $500,000, you could still use your VA benefit to buy that home. You just have to put a down payment on the amount that exceeds that area's loan limit. So if the loan limit's $417,000 and you want to buy $500,000, you'll pay a down payment on $83,000, which would be about $20,000. Much, much better than what you would pay on 20% of $500,000, which would be $100,000. So, to get a $500,000 home in an area where the limit's below this, $20,000 gets you what everyone else in the country would get with $100,000.
And for the extreme example, how about mentioning the Malibu property?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And a lot of people treat the benefit as they should. It's an earned benefit, and we have a veteran that bought a very expensive home, millions and millions of dollars above the loan limit in the area, but they wanted to use their benefit. So they got a loan, a VA loan, for many, many multiples of the limit in the area because they wanted to use the benefit. But we guarantee a small fraction of the actual loan amount, and the rest of the loan they had to put a down payment on.
And another important benefit that is not well known is that you can have more than one active VA loan at a time. So, for example, you could either be on active duty or out of the service, and let's just say that you're living in Houston, Texas. You can use your VA benefit to purchase a home there. And whether you are transferred in the military or you're a civilian and you change jobs and say you move to Washington State, you can retain that home in Houston. It becomes investment property for you, and you could use your benefit to purchase a home in Washington. Now, the loan size is going to be restricted by something that is referred to as entitlement, and that can get a little complex. But the fact of the matter is that you can have that investment property in Houston and have another VA home loan in Washington State or wherever.
Great, that's a good point. I do seem to run into not a lot of veterans know that they have that benefit and they can use it as such. And realtors also, I've found, aren't aware of that great VA benefit as well.
But it only works that one way. You can use it to buy a home that you want to live in. You can't use it to buy an investment property that you want to rent out.
Good point. Good point.
Excellent point. What's the easiest way that veterans could learn about the VA loan benefits?
Well, that's a very good question. And let me start by saying that we will spend hours, days researching the car that we want to buy or planning the vacation that we want to take with our family. And when you compare the amount of money that you're spending for a car or a vacation, of course it's a drop in the bucket compared to what you're going to be spending on a home. And so educating yourself is can't be overstressed. And as part of that, if somebody asks me when should I start the home buying process, I say you should start that years in advance. And specifically what I mean is obtaining and maintaining a good credit rating. Not only will a good credit rating, credit history, help you when it comes to the interest rate that you are going to be paying on your home, it's going to save you money on your car insurance, it's going to save you money on credit cards, it's just going to save you. So I would encourage anybody that is going to be purchasing a home to take a real close look at their credit and protect that credit. It's something that's very, very valuable. There are website, and I think the easiest way to get there is from eBenefits, so ebenefits.va.gov. That will get you to, you can link from there to the home loan site. There's a plethora of information on that site. Additionally, there's with the internet, one of the great things is you can educate yourself on anything you want to get educated on. And it would be helpful if people would just, potential home buyers, would spend a fraction of the time that they would spend researching a new car on understanding the home buying process.
Now, there's also another resource that HUD has. They have an initiative called Homeowners Armed with Knowledge, or HAWK. And under the HAWK initiative, they actually fund homeowner counseling around the country. And you can find out about this going to the HUD.gov website, and you can look for your area and find a qualified counselor in your area, and they'll talk to you about all the things that Mark talked about. What does it mean to own a house versus renting? When your furnace breaks, you can call someone to fix it, but you've got to write the check to fix it. Your realtor's not going to do it. Your lender's not going to do it. You don't have a landlord anymore. So you have to take care of these things. And they can give you a really good, sound idea of what it takes to be a homeowner versus a renter. And they're all over the country. They have thousands of different counselors.
And another very good resource for veterans is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB.gov. They have a section on their site that is devoted to veterans, and there's a lot of good Q&A on there when it comes to home buying. So veterans would find that. I find it very valuable.
Those are great tips. Thanks, gentlemen. Are there any other things that you feel like the veterans would need to know about VA home loan?
Well, to wrap up, I would say, to put it in a nutshell, that the benefit is a benefit that they've earned, and sometimes at great sacrifice. As we've mentioned, it's a benefit that never expires. It's a benefit that can be used time and time again. And when it comes down to the brass tacks, again, it is not possible from a cost perspective for veterans to get a better product than the VA home loan, guaranteed home loan.
And I would add another thing, that as you're talking to realtors, as veterans and service members talk to realtors and lenders and others in the mortgage process, if they find some that are reluctant to process the VA loan for whatever reason, talk to others. There are a lot of people that understand how the VA loan product works and believe in the benefits of it like we do. And we certainly believe in it, and we do everything we can to make sure that every veteran and service member has access to this benefit no matter where they live. But if you're finding any issues or any questions, you could always call VA. We have a toll-free number that will put a veteran in touch with their nearest VA regional loan center. And that number is 877-827-3702. Or they can talk to another lender or another realtor. That's your choice. You're the consumer. You have the ability to pick whomever you like, and you need to be satisfied with that product. But we think it's a wonderful benefit, that we appreciate the sacrifice that many people have made to earn it. We want to make sure they get to use it in any way that they want to.
And one other point, and Mike certainly touched on it, but it's important, and we encourage veterans to talk with more than one lender, because it's and you need to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples. But if you just talk to one lender, then you don't have anything to compare those numbers to. We heard a recent story of somebody that actually talked with 7 lenders, and I don't know that it's necessary to do that. But you're going to have a relationship with the lender that you end up working with, but you need to make sure that you're getting yourself a good deal, and the only way to do that is to compare at least offers from a couple different lenders.
Great tips and wonderful information. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen, today. I really appreciate it. I know you have busy schedules the rest of the day, so thanks so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
If we can educate one veteran, then we're happy.